How does the Barash vow breed some of the most dangerous Jedi in the entire galaxy? Greetings, students of the Force, and welcome back to the archives. In the Acolyte, we get a name drop to a very specific piece of lore known as the Barash vow. This of course is in relation to Jedi Master Torben, as well as Jedi Master Kelnaka. But this was not the first time we hear about this very specific vow in canon. Darth Vader had once met a Jedi after the Purge who had taken the Barash vow for himself, and this man would prove to be the single most difficult challenge in Vader's early career. And as we saw in the Acolyte, Torben was strong enough to passively hold a force barrier around himself that deflected all influence from the outside world. So why is it that the Jedi that take upon themselves the Barash vow become so powerful in the Force? What exactly even is the Barash vow, and where did it come from? So today, we will be pursuing the Jedi's collection of holocrons in order to discover exactly why this single choice has the potential to massively increase the power of any Jedi who has decided upon it, though it comes at a terrible, terrible cost. Let us begin. At its core, the Barash vow is a mark of atonement, or at least a Jedi seeking atonement. Jedi in the Order who feel as though they have committed a great wrong in the eyes of the Force, or have lost sight of its true way, will often take this vow in order to reconnect. During an active Barash vow, a Jedi will disengage from the wider Jedi Order and basically go into self-imposed exile. During that time, they will refrain from any and all contact with the Jedi Order and will disconnect from the galaxy at large as a form of penance. Now, it's important to note that these Jedi are still very much a part of the Order, but they simply isolate themselves from it until they feel their vow has reached completion. While in this secluded state, the vow taker will spend their time in deep meditation and contemplation in order to commune with the Force. By shutting out all outside influences, it's them and the light side, and many of those who take the Barash vow often discover great enlightenment when they're able to just get away from all the noise of Jedi life. In fact, the vow is so effective at this that some Jedi who haven't even done anything wrong will take a Barash vow just to get themselves realigned with the Force. From the moment of the vow's inception to the end of the Jedi Order during the Purge, over 14,000 Jedi have taken the Barash vow. It's an incredibly important and a humbling choice to make, which is why the High Council very often leaves those who have declared this to do as they desire. The Barash vow was created during the early High Republic era by a female caged Jedi Master by the name of Barash Sylvain in the year 382 BBY. Barash was an extremely close friend of the Order's greatest Blade Master, a Jedi by the name of Porter Engle. The two of them were so close that they considered each other as adoptive siblings, which greatly worried the Jedi High Council due to attachment. But the two of them had made an oath that they would purposefully perform worse without one another if they were ever forced to be split up. And because of this, the Jedi Council allowed them to take missions on together. But this was until one fateful mission on the planet of Gan Sevor. As Jedi Masters, Barash and Engle went to the world in order to resolve a conflict between the major cities of Firevale and Bethune. Not much is actually known of what occurred on the world, but what is known is that Barash was tricked by the Princess of Belthune, causing her to on accident escalate the conflict. She had been manipulated into acting upon emotion whenever the princess played on her biases. The whole thing became a larger mess than it needed to be until finally the conflict was resolved, but not without much needless death. As a result, the planet lost their faith in the Jedi. After this, Barash acted as if nothing had happened, until Master Engle was at last able to get his sibling to see what she had done, and she was ultimately heartbroken, since she swore to him that she would no longer take any actions on behalf of the Jedi until she could trust herself again to listen to the Force in alignment. She would take upon herself exile. This impressive vow was named after this Jedi, since the Order saw it as a noble sacrifice of atonement, causing many Jedi in the years later to follow her example. Interestingly, while the vow is intended to reconnect Jedi with the light, in a roundabout way, it actually makes them far more powerful. But why is this? A Jedi's strength flows through the Force when they are calm, at peace, listening instead of talking, acting purely on the will of the Force and not on their own mind bias. A Jedi becomes something supernaturally powerful, even to other Force wielders and Sith. A Jedi who is perfectly in tune with the light is a force of nature. Their blade moves by itself as their body becomes merely a conduit of intention. The dark side answers the Sith when they fully give in to their hate and desire for dominance, but the light side rushes to a Jedi when they let go and surrender themselves to its currents, the flow of nature. if one of them were to take the Barash vow and literally close everything off except for the Force, they reconnect with it in a deeply personal way, allowing to slip into a trance anytime they need to with ease. Their minds open to the cosmic and the living Force. They may receive an important vision, or pierce through the veil of the dark side to see the truth of the stars. In fact, the Jedi Vader was going after knew that he was coming for him weeks before it occurred, and had actually been preparing. It's a sign of great maturity for a Jedi to realize that they were wrong, and instead of chugging ahead and dealing with the guilt in the back of their mind, they recognize that they need help from the Force. Many Jedi feel that their duties are too important for them to get away for a while, but the Barash vow directly mirrors the sentiment of the ancient Jedi Order. Now, speaking in legends, the predecessors of the Jedi Order, known as the Jedi, would often banish their members to the moons of Tython if they swayed too far to the light or the dark side of the Force. Depending on their offense, they would be banished to either Ashla or Bogan to meditate on the opposite side of the Force in order to recenter themselves in the middle, a state of balance. Now, while the Jedi of today and in canon only know the light side of the Force and don't believe purely in this balance, the Barash vow carries this sentiment of humbling oneself to a state of penitence, which is ultimately for their own good. As we mentioned, not every taker of the Barash vow does so because they are ashamed of their actions. Some, like the Jedi Knight Des Ryden, do so because of their need to fix something deep within themselves. Des had unfortunately been taken prisoner and tortured by plant creatures seeped in the dark side known as the Drengir. After this horrific incident, he decided to take a Barash vow in order to deal with what happened. The trauma had been so intense that he decided to get away to a planet and to contemplate. Here, he would focus on realigning himself with the service part of the Jedi life instead of action and excitement. What's interesting though, is Torben didn't actually completely isolate himself physically. He definitely left the Coruscant Jedi Temple, but didn't go to an unpopulated world in order to meditate. Instead, he remained at a Jedi enclave. After the events of Brendok, he and Kelnaka both take the Barash vow, likely because Kelnaka was considered a Madclaw and was disgraced not only by the Jedi Order, but also by the Wookiee people. Torben took the Barash vow literally, isolation and meditation. Suspending himself in a permanent state of meditation, Torben would remain closed off to the outside world for nearly 10 years, not physically putting himself in exile, but mentally doing so. The Force barrier he projected kept anyone from interrupting his contemplation. Kelnaka seems to have done the traditional Barash vow, finding a frontier world of Kofar. The most dangerous of the vow takers, though, was the Jedi Kirak and Fala. According to records, Kirak was a part of the wider Jedi Order, but he didn't serve with diplomacy or rescue anything like that. His only purpose was born to fight. He was one of the rare few Jedi warriors, which makes sense why he would end up taking the Barash vow. We don't actually know what made him decide to do this, but by cutting himself off from the Jedi Order, he managed to evade the initial wave of Order 66. On the planet of Al-Dolim, Kirak waited for Vader, refusing all suggestions from his training droid to go into hiding. Kirak had sensed that many Jedi had died across the stars, seeing in a vision that one man was hunting them all down. Upon meeting Vader, Kirak confirmed that he was indeed the one who was hunting the Jedi, and following, the Jedi Master declared that his vow had been completed, promising to fulfill his life by ending the life of Vader. And he certainly came very close. It's important to note two things when this fight happens. First, this was a Vader who had just began his journey. He has only been in his armor for about a week or so, and this version of Vader is extremely young and far weaker than the Prime Vader that we know, still getting used to his new cybernetics. The second thing though, is that Vader didn't actually have a lightsaber. This mission was one that Sidious had put him on in order to claim the lightsaber of Kirak for himself. Vader would even have to climb a mountain that was rigged with traps. There, Vader would destroy the training droid of the Jedi and steal his electro sword in order to fight the Jedi Master. But because of all of the previous factors, Vader would lose this duel in embarrassing fashion, being pushed off the side of the mountain. Plummeting to the bottom, the Sith Lord was smashed to pieces. However, because he's Darth Vader, he survived, and used the training droid parts in order to repair his cybernetics, limping all the way back to find the Jedi Master. At this point, Kirak had ventured back to a nearby settlement, a settlement built around a dam. He had good relations with the residents there, and only a few of them actually knew he was a Jedi. He had left his Jedi starfighter with the town mechanic, and was now there to retrieve it and return to the galaxy, taking a new vow to destroy the Sith threat that swept over the stars. Unfortunately, this was a vow that he would never accomplish, as Vader appeared and challenged the Jedi in front of the entire town. Their duel resumed atop the dam, where it looked as though Kirak was going to win yet again. However, their fight was interrupted by a group of local security who commanded them both to cease. Vader simply tossed them off of the dam, but the Jedi quickly saved the men using the Force, not allowing them to die. Seeing how much this Jedi cared for the locals, Vader switched up his plan and used the Force to destroy the water reserves in the town. This distracted the Jedi Master again, as he tried to stop the destruction. Vader took this moment to grab the Jedi's weapon from his belt and slay him openly right there. Despite Vader not being in his prime, we still need to give credit to the Jedi Master Kirak and Fala, especially for nearly killing the Sith Lord and defeating him twice in single combat. Vader even had to resort to using outside influences to distract the Jedi in order to get his lightsaber and then kill him. But this Vader, despite being very young, is no slouch whatsoever, and his gifts in the dark side are immense. This all goes to illustrate the power that comes from the Barash vow, as even when this warrior had a Sith Lord at his mercy, he still refused to allow innocents to die. In conclusion, had the Barash vow existed sooner in the Jedi Order's history, we likely would have gotten a lot stronger and more level-headed Jedi. A Sith Lord's worst nightmare is a Jedi who can perfectly commune with the Force. Through peace and understanding, a Jedi can learn many secrets of the light side that would terrify those that wield the dark. And we believe this is why Jedi who take the Barash vow are the most dangerous in the galaxy. So my friends, if you enjoyed this holocron, be sure to leave your thoughts down below. Do you think the Barash vow is something that needs to be talked about more in Star Wars canon? And do you believe that this was a healthy thing for a Jedi to participate in at least once? Thank you as always so much for stopping by the archives today, my friends, and may the Force be with you.